Welcome to Lesson 3.5 on the imperfect subjunctive. So let's talk about what the imperfect subjunctive is. Pretty much the same rules apply of the present subjunctive that apply to the imperfect subjunctive. So when we're talking noun clauses or code words or existence or adverbial expressions, all the same rules apply. The only difference is now the first clause, that front half of the sentence, happens to be in the past tense. So that verb is conjugated into the preterite or the imperfect. And when we have that, well, then we have to use the imperfect subjunctive in the second half of the sentence if certain criteria exist. And by that certain criteria, if the front half of the sentence has a code word, command, opinion, doubt, emotion, but that code word happens to be in the past tense, then we use imperfect subjunctive instead of present subjunctive. If we're looking at the sentence and we're saying, hey, the object in the front half of the sentence does not exist, or we don't know if this object exists, and the front half of the sentence is in the past tense, well then the next verb, verb number 2, has to be the imperfect subjunctive. And finally, whenever we have a type 1 adverbial expression, we have to use the subjunctive. And so in this case, if the front half of the sentence is in the past tense and we have a type 1 adverbial expression, we have to use the imperfect subjunctive. All right, so let's look at how to conjugate the imperfect subjunctive. It has an interesting step 1. Step 1 is to conjugate the verb into the preterite tense eios. And so for AR verbs, that's putting it into the aron ending. And for ER-IR verbs, ieron. After we get it into the aron and ieron, we drop the on. And then for every single verb, we add a, as, a, amos, ais, an. So hablar would become hablaron. Drop the on, hablar. Add the endings hablara, hablarás, hablará, hablaramos, hablaráis, hablarán. Comer would become comieron. So when I drop the on, comier. And then I get comiera, comieras, comiera, comiéramos, comierais, comieran. And vivir, vivieron. Well, that would become vivier. Viviera, vivieras, viviera, viviéramos, vivierais, vivieran. Now you'll notice that there's an asterisk mark by amos, and that's because the nosotros form does have an accent mark, but it's not on the ending itself. It's actually on the vowel that precedes the amos, so the vowel that comes before the amos, which for an AR verb will be the A, habláramos, and for an ER-IR verb it will be the letter E, comiéramos, viviéramos. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Yo, form of ayudar, ayudara. We went ayudaron, we dropped the on, and we added the a. Correr. Well, we'd start with corrieron. And to put it in the to form, we have to drop the on and add as. Corrieras. El vivir becomes viviera. We went from vivieron to dropping the on and adding the el a. Nosotros tuviéramos. Now this is an irregular, but it's not technically an irregular. We have to remember that tener becomes tuvieron. And when we drop the on, we're left with tuvier, and we add our amos and our accent mark. Same thing happens with poner. Poner became pus, pusieron. Well, now we drop the on, pusier, and we add ais, pusierais. Dormir is a stem changer, durmieron. I drop the on, durmier, and I add the new eos, durmieran. All right, now it's time to show what you've learned. See you in class.